Right, Ravi Zacharias from Wikipedia. Ravi Zacharias, 26th of March 1946 to 19th of May 2020, was an Indian-born Canadian-American Christian apologist who founded the RZIM, Ravi Zacharias International Ministry. He was involved in Christian apologetics for periods spanning more than 40 years. Zacharias was the author of more than 30 books on Christianity, including the Evangelical Christian Publishers Association's Gold Medallion Book Award winner, Can Man Live Without God? In the category Theology and Doctrine, as well as Christian bestseller Light in the Shadow of Jihad and The Grand Weaver. I'm going to read that again. Zacharias was the author of more than 30 books on Christianity, including the Evangelical Christian Publishers Association Gold Medallion Book Award winner, Can Man Live Without God? In the category Theology and Doctrine, as well as Christian bestsellers Light in the Shadow of Jihad and The Grand Weaver. Zacharias was the founder and chairman of the board of Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, RZIM, and host of the radio program. Host of the radio program. Zacharias was founder of the chairman of the board of Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, RZIM, and host of the radio programs Let My People Think and Just Thinking. He was a lifelong minister of the Christian and Missionary Alliance, the Keswickian Christian denomination in which he was ordained. Zacharias has been accused of exaggerating his academic qualifications, and multiple sources accuse Zacharias of serious sexual misconduct, including rape. On the 9th of February 2021, Miller and Martin, the law firm hired by RZIM to look into these allegations, confirmed their veracity. Ravi Zacharias, born Frederick Anthony Ravi Kumar Zacharias, 26th of March 1946, Madras Presidency, British India, died 19th of May 2020, aged 74, Atlanta, Georgia, US. Citizenship, Canada, United States. Occupation, Christian apologist. Founder and chairman of the board of Ravi Zacharias International Ministries. Spouses, Margaret Reynolds. Married 1972 to 2020. Academic background, alma mater, Trinity International University. Influences, Norman Geisler, G.K. Chesterton, C.S. Lewis, Malcolm Muggeridge, John Polkinghorne, Billy Graham. Academic work, era 21st century philosophy, school or tradition, Christian philosophy. Main interest, philosophy of religion, Christian apologetics, worldview. Notable ideas, 4 criteria for a coherent worldview. Influenced Nabil Qureshi, Lee Strobel, Frank Turek, Tim Tebow, Vince Vital, Abdu Murray, Kelly Munro, Kohlberg. Website www.rzim.org. Life and Early Life in Education. Zacharias was born on the 26th of March 1946 in Madras, India. His family moved to North India, Delhi, when he was quite young, and he grew up there. His life was influenced by North Indian Hindi culture. His family was Anglican, but he was a skeptic until the age of 17 when he tried to commit suicide by swallowing poison. While he was in the hospital, a local Christian worker brought him a Bible and told his mother to read it to him from John 14, which contains Jesus' words to Thomas the Apostle. Zacharias said it was John 14:19 that touched him as the defining paradigm. Because I live, you also will live, and that, he thought, this may be my only hope, a new way of living. Life is defined by the author of life. He committed his life to Christ, praying that, Jesus, if you are the one who gives life as it is meant to be, I want it. Please get me out of this hospital bed well, and I promise I will leave no stone unturned in my pursuit of the truth. In 1966, Zacharias immigrated with his family to Canada, earning his undergraduate degree from the Ontario Bible College in 1972, now Tyndale University, and his MDiv from Trinity International University in 1976. In 1990, he participated in guided study at Ridley Hall, a Church of England theological school in Cambridge. Career ministry. Ravi Zacharias talks to Pastor Joe Coffey at Christ Community Chapel about answering objections to Christianity. Zacharias spent the summer of 1971 in South Vietnam, where he evangelized US soldiers as well as imprisoned Viet Cong members. After graduating from Ontario Bible College, he began an itinerant ministry with the Christian Missionary Alliance, C&MA, in Canada. In 1974, the C&MA sent him to Cambodia, where he preached only a short time before its fall to the Khmer Rouge. He was later ordained by the C&MA in 1980, and between 1980 and 1984, he taught at the C&MA affiliate Alliance Theological Seminary, where he was a professor of evangelism. In 1983, Zacharias spoke in Amsterdam at the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association's first international conference for itinerant evangelists. After Amsterdam, Zacharias spent the summer evangelizing in India, where he continued to see the need for apologetic ministry, both to lead people to Christ and to train Christian leaders. In August 1984, Ravi Zacharias International Ministries was founded in Toronto, Canada, to pursue his calling as a classical evangelist in the arena of the intellectually resistant. Today, its headquarters are located in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. In 1989, shortly after the fall of the Berlin Wall, Zacharias spoke in Moscow with the students at the Lenin Military Academy, as well as political leaders at the Center for Geopolitical Strategy. This was the first of many evangelism events in the political sphere. Future events included one in Bogota, Colombia in 1993, when he spoke to members of the judiciary on the importance of having a solid moral foundation. In 1990, he wrote his first book, A Shattered Visage, The Real Face of Atheism. In 1992, Zacharias spoke at his first Veterus Forum at Harvard University, and later that year was one of the keynote speakers at Urbana. Zacharias continued to be a frequent guest at these forums, both giving lectures and answering students in question and answer sessions at academic institutions, including the University of Georgia, the University of Michigan, and Penn State. Zacharias attracted media attention when in 2004 the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LSD Church, opened its signature pulpit at the Salt Lake Tabernacle to him for a series of messages. Zacharias delivered a sermon on Who is the Truth, defending Jesus Christ as the way, the truth, and life, to some 7,000 laypersons and scholars from both LSD and Protestant camps, in an initiatory move towards open dialogue between the camps. Some evangelicals criticized Zacharias' decision not to use this opportunity to directly address the deep and foundational differences between the traditional Christian faith and that of the teachings of the LDS Church. He responded by asserting that Christians should not immediately condemn so-called Mormonism's theological differences, but graciously build one step at a time in communicating our faith with clarity and conviction. He said this is just as effective as showing someone the faults of their faith. The speaking engagement was nearly sabotaged by an allegation by event organizer Greg Johnson, president of Standing Together, that Zacharias had nothing to do with editing the book The Kingdom of the Cults, and had only loaned his name to the latest edition. Johnson later apologized for his comment. Zacharias was a frequent keynote lecturer within the evangelical community at events including the Future of Truth Conference in 2004, the National Religious Broadcasters Convention and Exposition in 2005, the National Conference on Christian Apologetics in 2006. On successive nights in October 2007, he addressed first the students and faculty of Virginia Tech, then the community of Blacksburg, Virginia, on the topic of evil and suffering in the wake of the Virginia Tech massacre. Oh, I knew that was coming. Zacharias has represented the evangelical community at occasions such as the National Day of Prayer in Washington, D.C., the annual prayer breakfast at the United Nations, and I'm bored with this. What's that? Zacharias was interviewed in Focus on the Family's Truth Project. In November 2009, Zacharias signed an ecumenical statement known as the Manhattan Declaration, which affirms the sanctity of human life, the dignity of marriage as a union of husband and wife, the freedom of religion as foundational principles of justice and the common good. In 2014, Zacharias republished his book The Lamb and the Fuhrer, an imaginary conversation between Adolf Hitler, Jesus Christ and Dietrich Bonhoeffer, as a graphic novel. In 2016, Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio appointed Zacharias to his pro-life Dignity of Life advisory panel. In 2015, according to the public, Form 990 tax return, Zacharias and his wife reported earning a combined total of $523,926 from his non-profit Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, RZIM. Worldview. Zacharias argued that a coherent worldview must be able to satisfy Zacharias argued that a coherent worldview must be able to satisfactorily answer four questions, that of origin, meaning of life, morality, and destiny. He said that while every major religion makes exclusive claims about truth, the Christian faith is unique in its ability to answer all four of these questions. He routinely spoke on the coherence of the Christian worldview, saying that Christianity is capable of withstanding the toughest philosophical attacks. Zacharias believed that the apologist must argue from three levels: from logic to make it tenable, from feelings to make it livable, and from whether one has the right to use it to make moral judgments. Zacharias' style of apologetics focused predominantly on Christianity's answers to life's great existential questions with defense of God. He argued that the dominance of the visual in modern communication systems has impacted people's capacity for abstract reasoning, altering their way of perceiving things. However, the integration of abstract reasoning into one's worldview is important to have its base grounded in absolutes rather than on relative feelings and fads. Academic credentials, controversies, sexual abuse and rape. Canadian Laurie Ann Thompson and her husband sent a demand letter to Zacharias requiring him to pay $5 million in exchange for them refraining from filing a lawsuit that would have accused Zacharias of impropriety involving an exchange of texts between Laurie Ann Thompson and Zacharias. If it comes down to nothing but sexual text, that's not too bad. I mean, obviously it's wrong, but it's not too bad. She had texted nude photos of herself to Zacharias. Well, it sounds like she's in the wrong. In response, Zacharias filed a RICO lawsuit against Thompson, accusing the couple of trying to extort money from Zacharias. The case was settled in November 2017 with a non-disclosure agreement. In a 3rd of December 2017 statement, Zacharias said, "Let me state categorically that I never met Thompson alone, publicly or privately. The question is not whether I solicited or sent any illicit photos or messages to her. I did not, and there is no evidence to the contrary, but rather whether I should have been a willing participant in any extended communication with a woman not my wife? The answer I can unequivocally say is no, and I fully accept responsibility. Zacharias added that he had been absolutely faithful to his wife Margie throughout their marriage, but acknowledged that he failed to exercise wise caution and to protect himself from even the appearance of impropriety. 4 months after Zacharias' death in May 2020, 3 women who worked at 2-day spas he co-owned in Atlanta came forward alleging that Zacharias had sexually harassed multiple massage therapists over the course of a period of about 5 years. It is alleged that when at the spa, Zacharias would expose himself every time and would touch himself every time, according to Christianity Today. Zacharias masturbated in front of one of the women more than 50 times, according to her recollection. He told her he was burdened by the demands of the ministry and he needed this therapy. He also asked her to have sex with him twice, she said, and requested explicit photos of her. Other women also told Christianity Today. He would touch my leg, which was kind of by his hand, but then he would run his hand up to the middle of my thighs and then to the private area, one woman said. Another woman recalled Zacharias touching her lower back. It seemed friendly, almost comforting. Then he moved his hand down and inside of her pants. Several other times he moved his hand up her side and touched her breast. His former business partner expressed regret at not stopping Zacharias and issued an apology to one of the alleged survivors. Carson Weitnauer, a former employee, referred to Zacharias in response to the allegations as one of his generation's greatest frauds, a sexual predator, and a uniquely charismatic manipulator. Ravi Zacharias International Ministries initially denied the claims, but subsequently engaged a law firm to perform an investigation. On December the 23rd, 2020, RZIM confirmed that the allegations were true and released a preliminary report from the investigation. The interim investigation update indicates this assessment of Ravi's behaviour to be true, that he did indeed engage in sexual misconduct. This misconduct is deeply troubling and wholly inconsistent with the man Ravi Zacharias presented both publicly and privately to so many over more than 4 decades of public ministry. We are heartbroken at learning this, but feel it necessary to be transparent and to inform our staff, donors and supporters at this time, even while the investigation continues. On the 11th of February 2021, Ravi Zacharias International Ministries released the results of its investigation, concluding there was credible evidence that Zacharias had engaged in sexual misconduct. Accordingly, it was found that Ravi Zacharias solicited and received sexually explicit photos from more than 200 women who were in their early 20s until a few months before his death in May 2020 at age 74. According to investigators, Ravi Zacharias also used tens of thousands of dollars of ministry funds, which was dedicated to a humanitarian effort to pay for massage therapists, providing them housing, schooling and monthly support for extended periods of time. While reporting on the report, the Gospel Coalition reported that some therapists describe Zacharias as setting the woman at ease by asking probing questions about their background, including financial struggles or emotionally broken backgrounds. For example, one therapist reported that Zacharias spent the first half of their first massage session asking about her spiritual journey and prior abuse. This set her at ease and made her feel that he cared for her as a person before he later asked her to massage his genitals. Another woman reported that he would talk about her career plans and efforts to improve her financial situation while he was massaging her breasts. She never came forward because she thought, who would believe me against a famous Christian leader? Some therapists also reported that Zacharias paid well or would leave large tips and gave gifts that were at times lavish, such as a Persian rug or a Louis Vuitton wallet with $500 inside. On Zacharias' financial irregularities, the Gospel Coalition further reported that RZIM would pay rent for Zacharias to stay at his own apartment while in Bangkok, they wrote. Zacharias often travelled alone to Bangkok and other parts of Southeast Asia for a substantial time. He owned 2 apartments, blah blah, this is going on. I think I get the idea. Personal life. On the 7th of May 1972, Zacharias married Margaret Margie Reynolds, whom he met at his church's youth group. They had 3 children, Sarah, Nathan and Naomi, who lived in Atlanta, Georgia. In March 2020, Zacharias was diagnosed with a malignant and rare cancer in his spine, and on the 19th of May 2020 he died at his home in Atlanta at the age of 74. Following his death, a number of high-profile Christians posted messages online detailing Zacharias' influence upon them. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, as well as US Vice President Mike Pence, expressed their sympathies for Zacharias following his death, as did many other people. Bibliography. A Shattered Visage, The Real Face of Atheism, 1994-2004, Can Man Live Without God, 1994-1996, Deliver Us from Evil, 1996-1998, Cries of the Heart, 1998-2002, The Merchant and the Thief, 1999, The Broken Promise, 2000, Children's, Jesus Among Other Gods, 2000-2002, Jesus Among Other Gods, Youth Edition, 2000, The Lotus and the Cross, Jesus Talks with Buddha, 2001, Sense and Sensuality, Jesus Talks with Oscar Wilde, 2002, Light in the Shadow of Jihad, The Struggle for Truth, 2002, Recapture the Wonder, 2002, Is Your Church Ready? Motivating Leaders to Live an Apologetic Life, 2003, editor with Norman Geisler. Who Made God? An Answer to Over 100 Other Tough Questions of Faith, 2003, blah blah blah. Kingdom of the Cults, 2003. I, Isaac Take Thee, Rebecca, Moving from Romance to Lasting Love, 2004. The Prince and the Prophet, Jesus Talks with Muhammad, copyright 2004, to be released posthumously. The Lamb and the Führer, Jesus Talks with Hitler, 2005. Walking from East to West, God in the Shadows, with R.S.B. Sawyer. The Grand Weaver, How God Shapes Us Through the Events of Our Lives, Beyond Opinion, Living the Faith We Defend, 2008, blah, blah, blah. Very fascinating. But they've repeated that. The Lotus and the Cross, Jesus Talks with the Buddha. Anyway, I might bring this to an end. What am I interested in? A Shattered Visage, The Real Face of Atheism.